There are children that went from crawling to standing up to walking. Hell, they're on their way to middle school soon, since this Carolina Panthers team has last played in the postseason. It has been near a decade, and they have an opportunity of a lifetime. I know a lot of people don't think the Panthers have a chance in hell at winning this game. I get it. I understand it. Don't let that take away from the opportunity that is on the table here. Joe Person, per The Athletic, he's the one that I see reporting it. Cam Newton, as of Wednesday evening, he will be banging the drum at Bank of America Stadium. That is a huge moment. A guy that clearly has a strange relationship with ownership and the team. There was that whole thing in Germany last year where Newton went on his podcast and said he was not invited with the Panthers to Germany. The Panthers said that was wrong, and it seems just both guys, the suits on Mint Street and Newton, seem to have some differences after a situation we could do an hour on. That's been put aside for this opportunity. Newton will be banging the drum. The chants will be loud. I think crowd noise, it is going to peak. We've talked about Canales going through a similar situation while with Seattle. The Beastquake run. 167-yard touchdown, a playoff victory over New Orleans for the Seahawks led to a low-magnitude earthquake. The fan eruption was so loud. Just a few years later, Seattle found their quarterback. They were in the Super Bowl. This is a moment that gives way to something like that. It does. I do not underestimate these types of moments in sports. They know it. They get it. And I'm not going to sit here and delusionally tell you they're going to go win a Super Bowl or they're going to pull off a Cinderella story and make it to the big game. But one win in this game would go a very long way. A very long way. They need to seize this opportunity, and I think a lot of people in the building get that. They get it. Here's Dave Canales talking about Robert Hunt, who should be good to go, and I think he will be a huge addition to this team. Here's Canales on Hunt's status for Saturday.
Rob's got a couple of huge days. You know, he looked great today. Tomorrow's going to be an elevated practice. We're going to run a little bit more, push on each other a little bit, and that's going to be a really big test for him. So we're just going to have to take that one day to day. But I'm very optimistic about he's excited about it. You know,
Canales stops himself after he says, I'm very optimistic. And then he quickly catches himself before he says, I'm optimistic about Robert Hunt's status. That was on Tuesday. You've probably heard some reports since then, including from Robert Hunt himself. I think it is clear as day. This guy is playing, and championship moment. I know it's cliche at this point. We've heard it a million times. Robert Hunt is going out there in a game where I don't think he would be playing this game if it was the regular season. And I think Canales was prepared to be gone with Hunt. I think they could have ended his season earlier. They could have moved him to IR. I forgot the exact maneuver, and ended his season. They didn't do it. They left the door open. But if you listen to Canales before the Bucs game, he didn't have this level of optimism. There were a lot of steps that needed to be taken. Well, now Robert Hunt is literally in front of the microphone saying, yeah, like this thing, this bicep he's pointing at his arm, it's good enough to compete. It's good enough. It's latched on. It's falling off the tendon. It was just repaired. It is that type of decision he's making. He's working his butt off to get back on the field for this game because he understands the importance. I think Hunt himself is a culture guy. He is a straight culture guy. I know some of that might come down to money. He has a $100 million contract. in that same breath, he hasn't missed a step. He's been in the building ever since he's been hurt. He's been on the sideline. He's been close to the team. This is a huge addition, and I think there's a reason that he's forcing himself back onto the field. Here is Hunt talking about his status for Saturday.
It's not going to be, Melbo's not going to be perfect, man. It's not going to be, but I think I can compete with it.
It's a little bit loud in the locker room. But he says it's not perfect, but I can compete. And they have been able to piece together this offensive line. One point, I think they had 10 different offensive line combinations. I think it's gone up even more. That was a couple weeks ago I got that stat from. They've been able to piece it together. Jake Curran in the game against Green Bay ran the ball well. They've had Chandler Zavala while he was healthy a couple of times. Christensen was in there before he had the really bad, nasty injury. A guy who I think would really help them, honestly, down the stretch is Brady Christensen. Unfortunately, he tore his Achilles, but they have been able to find maybe not talented players, but they've been able to plug the holes of the ship. You can't say that about other teams. Other teams, they're not as resilient as the Panthers have been with regards to the offensive line. Robert Hunt's return marks something very important, which is you're getting back a leader, a guy I think a lot of people buy into what he's saying in the locker room, and he is forcing his way back out there. Here is Canales before the Bucs game, just so you have context. This is his injury status for the game last week. This is how Canales sounded about Robert Hunt.
How do you weigh the Rob Hunt decision, and is it this week, is it next week, or are there concerns about him not being ready at all?
He had another great day. We were able to give him more. We got to push him a little bit more tomorrow as well. It's a collective part, first and foremost, making sure that the injury, that the strength and support is around his full upper body to be able to handle what's a violent game. And so we're trying to simulate some of those things for him so that he has confidence to be able to do that.
It was still a procedural thing a week ago. They still had to go through some steps to get him ready to go on the field. Well, this week, it's playoffs. He's playing. They're optimistic about it. They need to confirm it. I'm confident it's going to happen. Robert Hunt should be on the field. And a huge key in this game is going to be the run game. More and more crossover between that 2010 Seattle Seahawks wildcard game and what the Panthers are going to be able to do on Saturday. But I think it's more so than a loose connection. This is a serious thing that they need to do to win. I'm going to talk more about Bryce Young in a few hours. Another video will be coming out. But as it stands on Saturday, they need to do the things that they have done well in their wins. Run the ball, stop the run. They've consistently stopped the run all season. But then two things that are less consistent. Turnovers, and Bryce Young's going to need to make some big throws. And I think all those things together, I'm not saying it needs to be a perfect game. You could force 4 turnovers. I think you force 4 turnovers against anyone, you can win. But you're going to need a mix of those things. And I think to stop the run, I say this is the cover at the club. Stop the run is the $5 you pay to get in. You pay to play. And this time of year, honestly, teams should be stopping the run. They should. And if the Rams don't, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if they don't really clean it up against the Panthers, which is why I say running the ball is a key. I think the Rams are pissed. I think they're pissed in that locker room. Stafford, I think, is pissed. He wants to get back at the Panthers after 3 turnovers that lost them the game. Stafford literally said those turnovers lost us the game. He said that, I believe, on Wednesday or Tuesday. I forgot which day. They're going to come out with a vengeance. So you need to be ready to hit them in the mouth. That's why they're rushing Hunt back. The Panthers' defense has improved all year. Mike Kay had a beautiful post on X. Defense in 2024 versus 2025. We're going to go down the list. Points allowed per game. They went from last. They're tied for 15th with 22.4 points allowed per game in 2025. Yards allowed per game, 32nd. Bottom feeders to 16th. Rushing yards allowed, 32nd to 20th. Passing yards allowed, 23rd to 15th. You just go down the list. Significant improvement to the point where we're talking about the Panthers defense as a top half of the league unit. It's not a perfect machine. It's not going to be on Saturday. You're going to need some magic. They all know it. Baseline doesn't work for this team if they want to win. Baseline performance is not enough. They need literal magic. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just telling you they're going to need to force turnovers. And Stafford's done it, and he's no longer MVP Stafford. He's not. He had 3 turnovers against the Falcons. That was a horrific, awful game. Awful game for Stafford. He had 3 turnovers against you in week 13. But then the other games, it's like 5 touchdowns, no turnovers. 400 yards. 5 million yards, 10 touchdowns. Then the next game, it's like 4 turnovers, 20 yards. It's usually never that low. It's like 250 and 2 touchdowns, like 3 turnovers. Something like that. You're going to need to force turnovers. That is so key because you are dating out of your league. Here's JC Horn on the key to the game.
It's just good to have everybody healthy and everybody back this time around because he's a great quarterback. He did it at a high level for a very long time and got a lot of weapons. So we need everybody back, and we just gotta find a way to take the ball away and do what we did last week. Football is a weird game. You know what I'm saying? The ball bounces certain ways, and you got to execute when you have those opportunities.
Football's a weird game, says JC Horn. Sometimes Zeus bangs the lightning bolt and gives way to a beastquake. Just this time, I don't know if the beastquake's going to be Rico Dowdle or 3 JC Horn interceptions or something crazy. You're going to need turnovers. You're going to need turnovers to win this game. This is a huge moment for this franchise. Cam Newton's banging the drums. Differences have been put aside. This moment, I'm telling you, it's minutes in life sometimes. It's minutes. It's minutes. Minutes matter. Can you make an impression? It's like modeling. My friend became a father recently. He said, Tone, the most difficult thing about this is modeling. It's this idea that I need to learn how to be my best self so my children learn that from me. It's not about what you say, it's about what you do. And if you win this game, then you create a culture, a locker room of winners. And when you bring rookies into the league, they'll be able to learn from that. This is The Tone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have more coming for you today. Stay tuned. This is The Tone.